I have a Maestro
Fingers,
camp for
fingers.
garage. I have a Maestro camp for it. You can just hide on catwalk if you want. I can sap him for you.
Okay.
It is time to see what you can do better to get a higher rank. As you could see in the clip, that is Pengu's Faceit stack, full of diamonds and champions, and even they did the mistake. But the mistakes that we will go through are frequently done in gold. Just to highlight, the biggest mistake that in clip was, attackers cannot push the catwalk with two people, as long as there is a guy on the catwalk and a person around CC. The video will be split in 3 parts, and without any further ado, let's get going. Alright, let's talk about the issues that can be applied for the attacks and defense, which is everyone doing the same thing at once. For example, what is usually done around the gold MMR is that either everyone is droning or everyone is pushing. There is no middle ground, and that is costing you a lot. The intel is as good as if you can act on it. If you have drawn someone in the attic on Oregon with no one pushing with your drone, what good will you get with that drone aside from getting it destroyed? That roamer will simply go somewhere else, and you will be left with one less observation tool. Or if you have cleared out bakery and prep on cafe, who guarantees you that no one will enter in bakery from the tables, the small bakery room, and kill you the moment you try to get inside of the bakery? A similar thing goes for the defense. How often do people hold the same angle? Like, if you are in the security and you have someone behind the white van on consulate. Generally, you shouldn't be watching garage's breach or yellow stairs. What instead you should do is watch your flanks on the spirals or visa stairs. Getting the kills as an attacker by just flanking the defenders in gold MMR are probably the safest and easiest kills because everyone on defense is focused on just one side and just one angle when the action is happening. This is why there are roles in Siege, and if you want to learn more about them, click on the top right corner. The next one is also huge because it is aimed at the solo queue players. When you're solo queuing, you want to make sure that the round outcome depends on you, and the mindset should also be applied for the gadgets that you will be using. For example, if you're going to use Valkyrie, make sure to have at least one, if not two cameras for your selfish plays. Let's go to Villa, and let's assume that you're defending games on Navi. The quote-unquote selfish cameras could be put around top right stairs and around astronomy. The third camera can go against the study push somewhere. As you can see, both cams we had used are helping the team as well, because the main idea behind the cams are rotations or flanks being covered from the attackers, or not. So many times was said that in the solo queue. You always want to have options, and these two cameras gives you flexibility to play everywhere, because you'll be able to use the intel to use the flanks, and flank the attackers from the red or the azure stairs. Generally speaking, playing around top red is where it is recommended to play in the solo queue, since you can deny both pushes, the obvious one bedroom push but also study push from zombie, or the hallway push from the 90. Do you see how many options you have by playing on the red? You can even play underneath with the C4 or deny their bug play. That's aside of the point. I have made a full solo queue guide video, so make sure to check it out. The cams also allows you not to face check the attackers but to pre-fire them. Or on the attack. A lot of people will tell you how Nomad is great in solo queue because it stops the flanks. Airdrops helps your team, but most likely won't help you that much. So if you want to rely on your team in solo queue and hope that your team will do the bigger part of the job, then you can play Nomad. But then you have to blame yourself if your team fails to do something. What you can do is play similar but more selfish operators like Gridlock that allows you to play vertically and have the best secondary gadget in the solo queue, which is smoke grenades. I'm proud to announce that among the top 5 professional players and staff, I'm doing the coaching on MetaFi GG. So if you're interested in stepping up your game to the highest level, feel free to check me out. Also, if you haven't already known, we have an extremely active Discord server with weekly 10 mans and looking for team posts, so make sure to join. Let's go to defenders. A lot of the time the round is lost because you overpicked the garage door from the catwalk, like in the introductions clip. You need to realize how important versus not important your position is. For example, playing on yellow stairs on consulate. If you die, attackers are ready to go for the execution, so the idea behind playing yellow stairs is to stay alive. Attackers cannot push you through the bottom of the stairs. They can only push you with a frag grenade or capital balls, or a shield. But that's up to you and your team, how will you toy with that. But you shouldn't be unnecessarily picking them. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be picking the skylight, because you'll see people doing that, as attackers won't expect defenders to do that. But this means to calculate the huge risks, huge rewards. The reason why people will be watching the skylight is mainly because they're expecting to be flashed, fragged, or capitoed. So they're going to die most likely, and they might want to get at least one attacker to retrade. The same thing goes, for example, red stairs on Villa. It's a high traffic area for any of the top floor objectives for both teams since it connects the two parts of the top floor. Another big thing is playing in the red spots. Corner spots that you're stuck and hoping not to get drowned out. Just for the clarification again, you will see sometimes people playing in the prep corner even if attackers are deep in the bakery. But it is a calculated play. Having said that, just playing there hoping not to get drowned out is not the play. The biggest issue here is that, when the red spot works out, you tend to get 2 to 3 kills, which makes it amazing for a YouTube video. But what you don't see is that the other 9 failed attempts. So if you're fine of being a free kill for 9 times, just in order to get a double kill on the 10th attempt, then do this always. But if you prefer winning rounds, do this only if calculated well. By calculated well, it means you have enough intel on how attackers are playing. Or the easiest reason to play into red spots are, like on the box of the motor job on the clubhouse, is if attackers have very little time, like 20 seconds. Then they won't have time to check every single corner, and that will grant you the free kills. Speaking about the time, if you're left in a 1 vs 2, 2 vs 3 or similar disadvantage situation, the last thing you want to do is hold one position or even try to hide. When you are in a disadvantageous position, sometimes it can be even in a situation when you have the man advantage but no map control. Sometimes it can even be in a situation where you have the man advantage, but then you don't have map control. Then you want to be unexpected. If you're letting attackers do the executions without any resistance, then they will push you from 15 different directions. Whereas if you try to push them yourself, there's a chance that they might not be expecting you. This is the main reason why you see 2 defenders starting flanking on the same stairs, so they can retrade each other. The moment a defender goes outside of the objective, then the attackers won't feel safe to do the execution, as they would be if there was no defender outside. So trade in this situation was a fantastic idea. Now let's talk about the preparation phase. It is extremely important to know what do you want to do with your operator during the pick phase, because going zigzag during the preparation phase is extremely time waste. You may think how Vigil doesn't need to do too much in the preparation phase, but it is just wrong. Vigil, alongside with any other operator that doesn't have gadgets to place anymore, is supposed to hunt for the default preparation phase drones located in the building. For example, there is like always a drone inside of the dining on Oregon, a drone over there. Even in the Pro League, the most teams leave a drone there. And if there is no drone, you have 2 possibilities. Attackers won't be doing the west push on Oregon, they will primarily do the push from the tower side, or 2, they don't know how to properly attack. Either way, that info is still important, so checking for the preparation phase drones and possibly destroying them is very important. You won't be able to hunt them if you are still placing the second ADS during the action phase. Speaking about utility, most people in gold understand how you shouldn't be anchoring with all 5 people in the most situations. Sometimes they take it a little bit too granted and roam with 5 people. But that is not the point of this. The point of this is you need to understand how the same works with utility. If you put all the utility inside of the objective, or close to the objective, how will roamers deal with the attackers? Like on Chalet, if you're defending office in Belgium. how often the reinforced wall facing fireplace from dining, allowing your roamers to play in dining and deny the trophy push, as well as possibly use C4s to deny the plant, or even try to flank from the library stairs. The same thing goes for the other utilities like primary gadgets, mute. The most common outside of the objective mute jammer spot is by the CC vault, when defending gym and bedroom. Pair that with the deployable shield on the top of the rest stairs. One pro team even had 3 ADSs to a Runis gadget on it. More about this breakdown can be found on my Metafy page. With having said all this, in this example, there was more utility far from the objective rather than inside of it. So please keep that in mind when it comes to the utility. Just like how you don't play 5 people in gym, you won't put all the utility in gym. Now this also works with the attackers' preparation phase drones, but this is more of an issue for the defenders, especially someone like Valkyrie. Using default Valkyrie camera spots like on the white wall of Cafe or on tree on Bang is the first thing I will check as an attacker when I see a broken window and Valkyrie being picked. Don't put a Valkyrie camera on default spot when you get higher in the gold. People know about them. A simple camera in corner of a room will do the wonders, or on the street. Last but not least for the defenders, barbed wire placements. I just love when people misuse barbed wires. Try to guess which barbed wire is correct. Both are in special situations, and both are wrong in the other situations. If you plan to play on the stairs, such as if you have hidden the meeting hatch and the takers cannot open it out, or you have Clash to play off the stairs, then having barbed wire above it is fine. Usually no one plays by the stairs, so having barbed wire below is recommended, since you can see the attackers smelling it from the supplies soft wall, but also as well as anyone playing aggressively by the hallway. Having barbed wire below, even with the Clash, is okay-ish, if you don't plan to play aggressively onto the stairs with the Clash. And now for the attackers. And I can proudly say how most people in Gold know that there are 2 drones available in your pocket. But the big issue is how you're using the second drone. Usually the way you're throwing it is on an unknown place, risking it to get shot. For example, if you want to start droning study from the balcony on Villa, instead of throwing the drone instead of the study, start droning from the balcony. This way you'll be able to avoid drone getting shot immediately and getting no intel from it. Speaking about droning, everyone is telling you don't drone too much, but no one is telling you what does it actually mean. Let's take an example on, again, we love an attacking statue and trophy, and you have breached the bedroom walls and you have the extra control. Now you have to drone statuary and that's pretty much it. Checking what's on the bench or on the top main stairs will just get your drone destroyed. Rather let a dead teammate of yours watching the drone whilst you're going for the plant by the door. Similarly, if you're going to start droning from the tower, drone what is in the tower, check pillars, and go back to the kitchen hall. At that moment, you have droned enough. The issue of droning further is someone might come from basement, and the issue with droning more area in the basement is that that info is useless to you, and risking your drone to get destroyed. Since we are in Oregon, it is important to know where the drone holes are, like one between kitchen and meeting, or between bedroom and games. A lot of the times, you're assuming way too much. You cannot assume how bakery or table is clear when you're going for inside of the kitchen from the restaurant. Assuming is the main reason of what makes you think, what is he doing there? If you will have drowned him out, then he will be a free kill, wouldn't he? The last thing about the attack is, attacking is harder because you need to know which areas of the map need to be gained prior to execution, or prior to getting, for example, garage control. You need to have lounge in control. You need to open up both garage walls as well as breach CC wall. And if possible, open up the CC to garage walls with Ace or Hibana, and that will make your job a lot of easier. But expect it to get impact tricked. If you didn't clear lounge and you have opened up just the garage crouchable hole, then the player by the bottom garage can be killed from lounge. If you don't have the garage rotation, then the player by the catwalk is safe from a grenade. And if you don't have the CC breach open, then the catwalk player can either go back to the objective, or can have a teammate assisting them through these angles. Again, knowing which areas to have in control prior to doing X is needed. And I also have that covered on the Meta5 page on how to play ranked maps. If you have other things that you see Golds doing wrong, feel free to comment down below.